So we're recording now. I'm sitting down with the mighty Gareth, and we're going to talk about crowd building, and specifically slow crowd building. Slow crowd building when it's a tough day, when there's no one around, when it's sprinkling, or anyway, just crowd building techniques. So what's up, mighty Gareth?
Hey, testing 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
I'm good. So how do you get a crowd?
How do you get a crowd? Okay. Well, I've actually written a few little things down. So because the other day on your Facebook page,
Tips for street performers.
Yeah. Anyway, on there the other day there was someone posted something like they were just beginning and they were wanting to street perform, and they actually posted. I'm sure you remember it. Like, how'd you get a crowd? You've got a show, you've got an idea for a show, but like, how do you get a crowd?
Yeah, and I mean, it's
quite remarkable.
Just beginning, it's half the battle.
Well, even before you begin, like, I used to go to Covent Garden and watch the street performers there, and I was like, wow, they get a crowd, and I knew nothing about it then when I was 19. But having watched loads of them over a couple of years in my beginning years at Covent Garden, you see loads of really good techniques. Yeah. You also see another thing when you go out by yourself, where you're not in Covent Garden and you're not on a main pitch. You're in a totally random place for whatever reason. It might even be a gig, but it might just be you're testing out a new town.
You have no idea of traffic flow or what the pitch looks like. Yeah.
Has nothing to do with when you're working a really popular pitch. The reason those pitches have a big queue is because you can get a crowd a lot of the times. There's always people.
Oh, that's a spot to watch street shows. It's a known thing, yeah.
However, I learned my skills and really honed them. I learned a lot in Covent Garden, but then I went to Reykjavik in Iceland, where I was the first ever street performer to work at Reykjavik.
That's awesome.
And to go around Iceland and do things and gather a crowd.
Yeah.
And that brings me to one of my points I wrote down earlier, which was I've actually been paid twice in Iceland purely to gather a crowd.
Nice.
One
for
time,
an event or something?
For no event. There was an insurance company. We're rolling a car in the middle of town to show the safety of the seatbelt and insurance. And I was at a partying on the weekend, and then the guy goes, "Oh, you know how to gather a crowd on Sunday, tomorrow. Do you want to come down? I'll pay you £300 equivalent in Icelandic kroners, 30,000 kroners to come down, and all you need to do is gather a crowd, one crowd from my car. I'm going to roll it over like that with people."
Nice.
For an insurance company. I went, 300 quid. All right. Yeah. And gathered him a crowd. And then the next time I got one was for a political party. Yeah. The guy who became the president of Iceland that time, or no, he was running for the president of Iceland or something. Anyway, I can't remember. David Oddsson, his name was. I went down and there was nobody in the square, and he was going to come and make a speech. And I had 30 minutes to fill it.
Whoa.
Yeah! And entertain the people. Lots of people knew about it too.
So did you do your show? Like how did you get a crowd there with no one?
I gathered a crowd and then did a trick. And then went, aha, and just tried to time it right so that I had a big crowd for when this guy turned up to do his speech.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. And afterwards I went up to him and I went, hey, and shook his hand in the crowd. He went around the crowd shaking hands. And I go, so I'm not going to vote for you, by the way. And he looked at me like, oh. I said, I just gathered you a crowd, yeah, but I'm not going to vote for you because I'm not an Icelandic citizen and I can't vote. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Not really.
Well,
you can edit that out.
I learned crowd building in Sydney, which is a hard place to build a crowd. So I learned the hard way. Like I learned on the hardest pitches in the world to gather a crowd. So sometimes.
So in my notes, I've gone. Me and Al have different experiences. Al comes from Australia and I come from the UK. Even though I learned the initial thing in Covent Garden, I did actually practice all my life. I've done Iceland. I lived there for years and years and years and years. and I've lived in Switzerland in a small town where they don't even know my language, and I don't know their language,
Yeah.
and lived off it. So difficult crowd building, bring it on.
Yeah.
Sydney, Darling Harbour. I watched you do crowd building there, and I also did it on the late night pitch with Rusty Balls.
Across the water. Yeah.
Yeah, just on the other corner there by the IMAX on the corner there, and that was completely different to the daytime crowd building.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, it's funny you say that, because the pitch at Darling Harbour between day and night, the difference is day and night. You know, it's like apples and oranges.
different.
It's a totally different pitch. Yeah.
But so your technique is slow crowd building, and I've watched this. You are a master of that, absolutely. And having, cool, intelligent things and funny things to say about people walking behind you.
Right. I think that takes a lot of practice, because there's like 10 of them that are just stock standard that everyone knows. But if you actually sit at the pitch when you're not performing and say them in your mind as someone walks past, you just kind of go, what's their story? Just make up a little story in your head. And every now and then you make yourself laugh. And then you got to remember that. You go, okay, next time I see a person wearing a blue shirt, I got to say that. Next time I see a guy with gray hair, I got to say that. So you can sit at the back of the pitch and practice those lines, those walk-by lines, so that, when someone comes up and they have one of those attributes, you have it there ready, and it's not just one of the stock ones,
Also, at the same time, if you've worked, like some of the places I've worked, I've had to do 3 or 4 shows in one day to make my rent, like in Fribourg in Switzerland.
Right.
And again, just by repeating it again and again and again and again and again, you hit on things. Every now and again, it's a hit, and that made people laugh, and you didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
You just said it. Well, I don't know. For me, that's the case. By repeating it many, many times, you get a hit, and those hits stick. And the next time the similar scenario comes up, bang, you're in, like that. Simple things as well, like talking about things behind. Like, I love it. I do shows in front of a shop that has a window dressing. It's a fashion shop. So there's these models in the window, like with all clothes on, like that. The number of different jokes I've had to say about them. They've been in my show. They were different clothes on, different seasons, different positions. And I can't think of anything right now, but I have definitely commented on the models in the window.
You've just got to use what's around, like whatever is given to you, you have to accept it and try and use it to be funny.
I love it when I do one in front of a jewelry shop that sells the most expensive watches in the world, and they just got window full of watches like that. I got a few people there like that, and part of that crowd build thing is I look over, and if I see someone looking in the window of that, I go, "Hey, watch," like I'm about to do something to him, and he looks at me, and I go, "Watch."
Yeah.
1,000 watches in front of him. And every time, brilliant laugh, and it's nothing. It's just interacting with the surroundings. So that's important. Isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to do a slow build.
Yeah, I was sometimes if I know it's going to be a long build, like if I want to work like a big set of stairs, right, and I know I'm going to fill it, I've got to take a lot of time to fill it. I'll turn my mic. Normally I get my stuff ready before I turn my mic on if I'm going to do a show, but I'll turn my mic on first, and I'll just talk through the whole time of me setting up my equipment, tell them what's going to happen, tell them my intentions, like what they're going to see, and tell them what I'm doing, this and that. I'm putting this together, and this is going to be this is going to be this. You guys stand over there. And basically it just gives me more time to talk while I'm putting all my shit together if I'm trying to fill up a big space like stairs,
Actually, that's one of my little notes that I made here, was this sort of pre-show thing. I've got 2 pre-shows. There's the one where I'm off the back of the stage, wherever that is, whatever street stage it is, whatever. It's not even pitches where I work. I just find any space I can. Really, I've worked in some amazing places. But at the back there is like, before I want to engage anybody, I'm off the back, and I make sure that absolutely everything is in check, apart from one thing that I haven't done, which is usually perfect, which is my microphone. So I've made one rule to myself, which is everything must be ready to go, checked. I'm not going to forget one thing. There's not going to be one thing out of place in my case.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put my mic on. I go 1, 2, testing, test the cables. I've had broken cables at that point. There's no point in engaging people. They don't want to
Yeah.
see you mending a cable or changing a battery. So
Yeah.
at that point of the check, 1, 2, 3, and as soon as I know that that's done, there's already people on a busy shopping street. They're like, what's that guy going to do?
People don't just walk around with microphones on, you know. It's
Yeah.
rare
So
to
you
have
stand out.
a microphone.
And also how you look while they're looking. Now, I've always, like, for years now, I wear a cool jacket that
Mm-hmm.
matches my hair. And when people look around, they go, hey, that guy's cool. I don't wear the glasses. He's going to do something really good.
Yeah, look is
And
a massive thing. You got to
your
look
appearance,
interesting.
you always
Yeah,
look smart.
compelling.
You do a little tie sometimes over the ears,
Yeah,
but then a shirt, but with the sleeves ripped off up to here,
yeah.
because you're cool.
But I was thinking today about the pre-build, like a bunch of things that
Yeah.
I do before I even start crowd building that I do to attract attention. That
Yeah.
I pretend that they're unintentional, but they're intentional.
No, they're purely intentional. I know you extremely well, Al, and you've done it as long as I have. You know exactly when you turn up, like at the point where you go, I'm standing there and I'm not pre-building, and then I go, okay, I just better like check with one last thing, and I put my bag, my case on its trolley. It's got wheels, you know. I put it exactly there. Look around a little bit, genuinely, where I'm. Okay, that's the spot, and just doing that has already created attention.
Well, you're sending out vibrations that something's
But I
about
always
to
do.
happen.
I put that out there before getting my amplifier out. I've kind of, that's what I'm doing. I put that there, get my amplifier out, and check the mic.
Yeah,
All I've done is put my case down and check my mic and put the little speaker in the right position for the street.
yeah.
And ask. Sometimes I go 1, 2 testing, and I ask a few passers by. I go, hey, I don't want to piss anybody off. That's not too loud, is it? So I ask their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really nice little technique, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Is it? Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a show here. Is this too loud? Is it not loud enough? Do you guys want to watch?
That way you come across as a really nice, genuine person, which you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be genuine. You have to care about if it's too loud. It's not and most street performers who have microphones, in my experience, turn them up way too loud across
Absolutely.
the board.
Yeah.
And there's a little trick, by the way. World
Turn
street
down.
performers, turn your amp and face it towards you like a monitor, so
Yeah.
you can hear you.
Yeah.
They'll hear you. If
Mm-hmm.
you can hear you and you're happy with that, pointing at you without feedback. That's on stage when I do comparing. I want a monitor so I don't lose my voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you blow your voice out because you can't
I've
hear
been through 50,000 watt sound systems on massive things.
Just shouting.
And and very important. Just all you need to do with your street amp is point it at you. If it feeds back,
I have
too loud.
thing. I have stuff and things. So I've got two speakers. So what I do is I put one at 5 o'clock. I put one at 7 o'clock, crossing the pitch. So that one's pointing that way.
Yeah.
And that one's pointing that way. And I'm standing
behind you
in the middle of them.
So you can hear them though.
I can hear them. Yeah, they're pointed right
Like
at
your monitors.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Like, if I'm in the middle, they're pointed like right at me, but also at the audience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's what I do. And I only have like a little Fender amp can, but just for voice, it's for me. I've done like
Fender amp can. I've got like 4 of those. I've still got 4 of those.
I've got 5 of those. Yeah. I've been given free ones because people found out I collect them. They're too heavy though.
Yeah, the pre-build, there's like you make unexpected loud sounds, like you drop something metal, or you put your case down, like boo, or you just crack a whip, or just dumb little things that make people look at you. And then when they do look at you, you go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just getting ready for a show," like you just apologize for making noise. But
normally when I do a show anywhere, because I juggle a chainsaw. I've had a few shoulder problems, so I like to go around the corner to a grassy place or somewhere and have a little private 10 throws of my chainsaw and make sure it's running, warm it
Yeah.
up, so I'm ready to go. There's been occasions where I can't go anywhere else to have a little warm up,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done my warm up with my back to the potential pit to the pitch,
Sure.
and just had a few little throws with my chainsaw, and then put it away, and turned around, and at that point, there's people already engaged.
Oh yeah.
And just a simple thing like that, it doesn't have to be much.
No, I do something similar, but okay, it's two things I do because I have a chainsaw too, right? I clean my chainsaw. That gets me a crowd sometimes. I pull
Oh
it
yeah,
out.
we're in Australia. That's the thing. Like,
I pretend like I'm maintaining. It's got to be
okay,
clean,
yeah,
And
talking,
another thing I do is
yeah.
I switch it off, right? So it won't start. And then I turn my back, and then I'll pull it, I'll pull it, I'll pull it. It's not working, and I'll turn around, and there'll be people there. I'll flip the switch, and I'll turn it on, and I'll be like, oh, "You guys are my good luck charm," right?
Use it all.
Yeah. Because it's immediately it's giving them something positive, like, "Oh, we're good luck for him. We made his chainsaw start."
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Actually, again, with this Australian slow crowd build thing, I love seeing Damien Ryan. He can turn up with his unicycle in his
Yeah.
Samsonite case like that, and he'll sit down there like that, and he'll just start building the unicycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's his technique. And all those jokes on passerby, he's using that there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. He does
And
a
that
good
works
10.
really well for him. Yeah.
Does a good 10 minutes building his unicycle and just talking. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the old school way, mate. That's the way. That used to
For me,
be
I
the
had
only way
loads
people
of
got a crowd.
routines in my. Yeah. So I learned that in Covent Garden, that setting up your stage, preparing it, and engaging people.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically it. I must say, I just want to say my one is, which I'm opposite to Damien, and we've worked together loads over the years in different countries, both in Australia and in Britain. And Damien will do all these jokes, passerby jokes, while building his unicycle and gathering a crowd. I do no jokes at all. I'm like, I'm not going to waste any of my jokes until I've got at least 100 people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine's the other way around. It's like just before the finale, that's when I slow down and do joke, 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 all those kind of passerby jokes. Yeah. Just
I feel like there was a point,
yeah.
like that's what everyone did. They just talked and got a crowd. And then there was in the early 2000s, it was turn on a song and get a crowd. But I feel like that doesn't work anymore.
I did playing Mission Impossible, like really
Yeah.
back in tune, lay my props out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find
I stopped
playing a
bothering doing
song,
it.
playing
Yeah.
a song to get a crowd, you miss out on all the interaction. You miss out on them getting to know you. Yeah. So when you turn the song off, you're just like, "Hey, what's up, folks?" And they're like, "I don't know," like.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
if
my own personal
you talk the whole
technique,
time,
I believe in suspense, yeah?
mm,
Like, if people see, like, the poster, well, in the old days, the poster for a new movie that's coming out like that, and they walk past the movie theater, they're like, even for a week or two, they're like, oh, I really want to go, I want to go to the movies and see that movie, like
yeah,
that. They're excited before they go and everything.
mhm,
And rather than, for me, personally, I'm getting all this stuff out of my case for my show, whether it's a whip or a chainsaw or whatever, some juggling balls, some fire torches, dipping them, For me, that's it, entertaining enough. If I
yeah,
do it in a jolly way,
you're creating
just,
curiosity. You're making people ask questions.
yeah.
Like, what's he gonna do with that? What's he got that for? Like that's how you create curiosity in people walking by. You got to make them ask questions by not by doing things, but setting up things that you're gonna do.
Well, there's one thing that I say, and I don't even mind if other street performers say exactly this, but it's my own kind of little technique, which is I'm going to do a show right here. It's going to be really awesome, but I need a crowd. So I'm going to get my jacket on, and all I do is change my jacket into my show jacket, which doesn't take long, but goes from boom to boom, And all I've done at that point is test my microphone,
Hmm.
and then I take off my raincoat and put my show jacket, which is really flashy. So I say, in an attempt to gather a crowd, I'm gonna, get ready for my show. First, I put my jacket on. So again, I interact with people, but I don't use any of my jokes on people. I just go,
Yeah.
I'm putting my jacket on, I'm getting ready for my show. I tell
Well,
everybody that's going past repeatedly, I'm getting ready for a show.
that
And then I
reminds
say,
me of
yeah.
it reminds me of an old Covent Garden trick to crowd gathering is changing in public. That's something that I really only saw at Covent Garden, and it's
Okay,
doing
yeah. So maybe,
something in
I learned
public
that there, I
that
think.
isn't normally done in public, you know?
Oh yeah, especially me. I take my top off and I put my show waistcoat and my jacket and top this underneath. And people look at me like some kind of nutter, like
Yeah.
taking his top off in the middle of winter. They're
Hmm.
all freezing cold. You don't get cold doing a street show. It's like internal heating.
You
So
do in Boston.
yeah, all right. Yeah. Boston's gonna be cold, isn't it? Beck, I drink some water to that.
But yeah, that's it, man. Like doing something in public that you don't normally do in public, it catches people's eye. Like if you like shaving, you know what I mean? Like
I've
people
actually
go,
done that.
"What's
I've
he up
taken
to?"
my electric shaver out onto a pitch.
That's
I've done that
awesome.
on
That's
stage as
hilarious.
well. I've gone out on stage sometimes. Go, oh damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I find sometimes if I'm working a spot and it's like completely dead, I'll be like, okay, I'm not going to start for half an hour, but everyone who walks by, I'm going to tell them that the show starts at 7:30. Come back at 7:30. Come back at 7:30. Come back at 7:30. And then 7:25 comes, you get ready, and then maybe some of those people come back, and then you have 5, 6 people to talk to, at least.
Okay, actually, do you want to talk about this thing? Because I saw you do this thing in Darling Harbour absolutely brilliantly. Like the setting up your stuff, you've already got a little bit of interest there, and you have got people, but they're along there, they're spaced out like that, and you do the odd jokes from people behind, and do some of you start your tricks where you're getting through your tennis rackets or some contortion.
Yeah.
So you're now entertaining those people, but they're still at a distance and holding them at a distance. Because one of the biggest fails is there's a busy road, you get like 7 people watching you who've decided to come right up and stand there, and nobody else stops. Suddenly they're blocking everything. They've just like, you must have said to people, hey, can you just move back about 20
Oh, yeah.
feet?
No, I
Move
do it
them
all the time.
right out. Yeah, of course.
I do it all the time. I'm a big believer in a one-time crowd pull. So I'm not going to pull people up to the edge until I have a crowd. And at that point, I go, look, you're a crowd. I want to turn you into an audience. Here's how I do it. I draw the line. You walk up to the line. Suddenly, you're not a crowd anymore. You're an audience. And because if you do it one at a time, 2 at a time, 4, it just gets repetitive. You know? But yeah, if people do come stand too close, I get them to move back. If people sit down, I go, don't sit down, stand up.
Yeah. That's really important as well from a control point of view, because the street form, you have to control everybody. And that's it, full stop. You are actually in control of the street. When the police come, they actually quite respect it that you are totally in control of the whole street. And they're like, because that happens occasionally when you've got some kind of authority comes along and they realize you're in control of the whole street. It is important.
Yeah, it's if people show up right at the beginning and want to sit down, I immediately tell them, no, don't sit down. This is not a picnic. This is a show.
Yeah, exactly.
I want them to stand up because I want that wall. I want that wall of flesh. I can people can see through them. Then there's no point them being there.
Actually, little side note: the wall of flesh. Now, there's no gaps thing. That's going to be interesting with COVID-19. Future way to go. Family groups.
Yeah. No, crowd building's not going to be the same because you can't really create the exclusivity because there's going to be gaps. I mean, people are going to stand not next to each other because that's the whole thing about crowd building is you got to create exclusivity. Like it's only the people that are here can watch. People walking past.
Actually, that's one of the nice little crowd build jokes as well. Actually, if people are moving past like that, and then I've had people come behind me like this, and then just stop for a second and look, or when they stop and start watching, No, it's a private show. Can you just like keep
Oh
moving,
yeah.
please?
Oh
So
man, all the time.
and then
Like,
they
sorry,
usually
we
stop
haven't
there and
people
behind the
already.
back.
You're gonna have to. Are you really gonna stand there? No, no, stand over here. This is not a good spot.
So I tell them to leave, like I'm the bouncer. That's my
Right,
reverse
right.
technology, psychology.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love saying if I say that, like, oh, I'm sorry, we have enough people. Keep moving. And I say, oh, that's reverse psychology, and they laugh, and then I go, it normally works on the intelligent people. And they'll yeah.
But I actually think that I'd say to any beginner, and one thing I wrote in my little list of notes was I've had members of the public who love street performing, who watch it repeatedly, and even beginner street performers talk about stalling
Oh
somehow
yeah.
and using that phrase,
Hmm.
stalling to get an audience. And I really don't like that phrase because it
No.
kind of implies that you're dragging it out somehow.
Yeah, and a
And
lot of street performers do, but
well, they shouldn't.
I'm one of those
They
that doesn't.
absolutely should not drag out crowd builds.
Yeah.
You just get on with it. Just recognize when you have to go. This is Tuesday afternoon. I've chosen to work today. I'm only going to get 45 people.
Yeah. And the
Don't
thing
drag
is,
it
like, you
out
don't.
anymore.
Your whole show can be a crowd build. It doesn't have to stop. The crowd build doesn't have to stop when your show starts. You know, like
Yeah,
the
correct.
whole show should be a crowd build. So if you start doing your tricks and your routines and you're still crowd building, that's what you should be doing.
So I think the most important thing is with your actual show is have confidence in the last 10 minutes of it or something, that
Mm.
really feel confident about your last 10 minutes of material, because it's probably the last 7 minutes that count the most if you want to make some good money in your hat that day and get a
Mhm.
really good energy, like that. Because I've definitely had people come up right at the end of my show and all they saw was the finale of the show and they got a real good buzz
Yeah.
and put a note in my hat and
Yeah.
yeah, rock on.
Hey, if you give a good enough finale act, that even if they just show up, that they like, wow, I'll give some money for that. Like that's all you can ask for really, because that means
Quite
anyone that's
simple as well.
say the beginning to right up to when you started your finale, you got to give them all a reason to pay.
The most exciting thing about gathering crowds is that you do absolutely have to be entertaining and engaging the whole time in whatever way, or it will not maximize your business. It won't, it's totally possible. That's the most exciting thing, actually, is for me watching acts that are completely engaging from beginning to end, and every single person is riveted the whole way through, and you don't let you don't let anything drop. You're always, like you're saying, you're always crowd building. It doesn't
Always
stop once you start.
crowd until the end, so you only gain people and you don't lose people.
You gave me one of the best bits of advice
How's
ever,
that?
which was back when you helped me shave these stripes from the side of my head.
Oh
But
yeah, I did that.
25 years ago. Yeah, one of the best bits of advice, which was why not write down your show and put all the different elements in it, and then write by the side of it whether it's a laugh point or an applause point. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then if there are any gaps in there where you realize that they're
too
not
much writing.
actually laughing or applauding to this, maybe remove that thing. And I actually did that, and I followed your advice like
Hmm.
25 years ago. I don't know, something like that. Um, and it absolutely worked without fail.
That's one of my most successful techniques is
Yeah.
writing out my script. One line, leave a gap for a laugh. One line, leave a gap for a clap. And just write it, write it, write it. And anywhere there's too much writing, you go, what can I put in there that's going to make a laugh or an applause point? You know, and then your show just goes like this, rhythm.
Yeah.
You know,
And that is that's
slow,
the
and if
crowd build as
you
well.
slow it down, you actually end up like hypnotizing the audience into reacting as because they've been reacting every single time. Even if you
Yeah,
say
absolutely.
it's not funny, they laugh because they're trained. They've been trained to laugh.
So here's another thing, which is a bit of a technique, which is once you've learned how to do exactly that, of keeping that flow going, because yeah, I definitely have had loads of shows where I'm like, fuck yeah, that was it, it's rocking,
Yeah,
and you feel it. And then there's days where
in the
that
pocket.
rhythm, that rhythm doesn't quite get there for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. There
Yeah,
might be a sprinkle of rain, or there might be that you're just not like you didn't eat your breakfast. I don't know. Whatever. There's days when the flow just doesn't quite get, and
sometimes.
you start to feel it, and you go, "This isn't working the way I
Yeah,
want it to."
sometimes
Now
the
it's
first
really
thing that comes out of your mouth comes out wrong. You're like, I'm gonna, ugh, you know.
but something about the flow of the rate of people on the street or something. You've hit a bad wave,
Hmm.
and for whatever reason, it, there's this feeling after years of doing it that you know that today you're going to work it and it's not going to get the result that you would really, really like.
Yeah,
So the important thing is to actually recognize that and fake it like it's going to get you the result you want.
right.
Bang through it, innit? In my opinion, I don't know. Never
It's
reveal
hard to
that.
fake when you've done it that many times. It's not that hard to fake being in the pocket and going on autopilot.
Yeah,
Because it's like
but
riding a bike.
I would say about autopilot. I can do that, but actually never put it on autopilot because you might hit some turbulence at any point, and it could slap you around the face.
Hmm.
That's my opinion. You're never on autopilot, really.
Yeah, yeah.
You're always in the moment. But it's good to recognize when you're feeling that, oh, it's not really quite going in my way, and just okay, bang through it, get to the end. You've got the next show to have a good experience.
Hmm.
It might happen next week or something. And I think that's important for beginners as well. Yeah, just bang through it. The
Hmm.
more shows you do, the better. Don't waste your time on any one show.
So, yeah, like right in the beginning, if I know it's going to be like a bit of a slow crowd build, I'll I'll do this thing, right? I'll do a bunch of the pre-build stuff. I'll I'll drop something, make a loud sound. I'll do a mic check, 1, 2, 3. I'll just do a few of my intentional, unintentional tricks, my pre-build, and then I'll do this thing where I'll just slow hand clap. People who are watching, they just join in,
Oh, that's nice.
like it's not like your big slow hand clap at the end of the show, but people who are watching you, like clapping is contagious. So you just do it, and you can go, okay, that those 4 people are watching. Can you guys come and stand there? Can you guys come and stand next to them? And suddenly you've got 4 people right in the front, right where you want them. And just because you've said that to them, other people go, oh, what? And you go, oh, can you stand next to them as well? Can you stand next to them as well? And you've got 8 people. Then you can start doing your regular crowd build. But just that, clapping the hands in a slow rhythm right at the beginning, just to see who's watching.
But again, I think I want to reiterate the fact that those 8 people, don't have them too close to you, isn't it? It's
Ah,
like
yeah, yeah,
claim your space.
yeah.
Oh, one of my favourite things to say, and I started doing this maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, which was to say, I don't own this space, but I am going to use it.
Mm,
And the way it works is I create the space, and usually an audience gathers around the edge of that space.
mm-hmm.
So I'm defining this space by telling them that that's what I'm doing. And I found that people just find this really interesting. They go, all right, this guy's like, claiming his space in town. He's being a bit loud. And then I go, no, you're in my space. And then sometimes a bicycle goes right through my space, and things like that. And then there's things to play with,
Mm-hmm.
claiming the space for yourself, but actually telling the audience that that's what you're doing. And one of the things I wrote earlier was keep them informed. It might be removing some mystery in one way, but it's not. It's creating suspense. Like, I'm going to do an amazing show. It's going to be awesome. going to
Mm-hmm.
be here. I need a space. So you're already telling them, and you can actually move people back. And the power of moving people back out of a space
Oh yeah.
that
Totally.
aren't even going to watch you. You're telling people to go away, and okay, that's far enough.
Yeah.
That actually gets their attention.
Wow, this guy must be. He's going to do something dangerous. He needs
And
this much
big. Yeah.
space. Yeah, and big.
Yeah, I know. I love saying that in my first opening line. Danger show over here. Move back. Yeah. If there's some kids there, you know, I say it really loud to the kids. Go on,
Yeah.
move back. It's going to be dangerous. And I haven't even got any props out at that point. Quite often, you know, that's quite nice.
Yeah, that's
Create
the.
that
Yeah, you need a hook. You know, everyone needs a hook. You got to be able to say something that's going to hook people.
I used to use a rope around my show, and I've actually just got it out again, but I haven't used it for 20 odd years to set up an area.
Mm-hmm.
Because I found that sometimes I wanted to move it out a bit. I kind of put it a bit close to me.
Yeah.
So and it was one more thing I didn't need to carry, so I stopped it. However, now COVID's in, I'm going to put a rope out. I've decided might help with the distancing thing. You know.
Actually, this guy Will posted a video a few days ago on Tips for Street Performers where he tied knots every 6 feet in his ropes.
Oh,
And
sweet!
Like, you can stand up the knots, you know.
Even just doing
like,
that in front of a crowd would build a crowd, wouldn't it? Like, what are you doing? I'm social distancing my rope.
distancing the knots, yeah. You can put something
Beautiful.
with the knot, like a little feather or I don't know, something.
Hippie. You've been hanging around with hippies. Feather in your blooming street. No, don't put feathers in your street performing rope, okay? Unless you're playing didgeridoo.
Yeah, true.
I don't know what I said.
It's funny.
Anyway.
It really comes down to the word gonna, doesn't it? I'm gonna do this.
I'm gonna do this.
This is gonna happen. Gonna. That's all crowd building is.
Well,
Gonna.
actually, there's a really old school street performer called William Lee, Master Lee. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
From New York?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he appeared in a Marvel comic even in Washington Square Garden.
Have you ever seen him work Washington Square Park?
I've not been there. Oh no, I've been there once, but I haven't actually seen him work.
Okay.
But,
well, I worked that pitch with him back in '97 or '98, and it was great because he'd always open the pitch with a long crowd build, and what he would do, Master Lee, yeah, what he would do, he would set up a little blanket, and he would sit cross-legged, and he would like meditate, right? But he would meditate to a point where he was like oming, like with a microphone on, and he'd just get louder and louder until it was comical, you know? He'd be like, right? And it was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then he'd do it for ages, but it would get him, I don't know, 20, 30 people to start with, and then he'd be Master Lee. But it was just funny, just oming.
His whole performance was again this very good build, where he's showing a bit of his finale, where he's going to chop some boards on fire with his bare hands.
I'm going to break these boards. I'm going to set these boards on fire. Break with my bare hand. First. He said that the whole show.
Yeah, repeating, but first. And I think that was a massive influence on me of this thing of I'm going to do a show over here, but first I need to get my costume on. Yeah, I'm going to do a show.
But first. Yeah.
Well, I change it. I don't say but first. I actually say and now I'm going to get a few props out of my case to attract people.
Yeah.
And I just repeat, I'm going back to my case to get a few more things out to attract people.
Yeah.
So anybody who stops, they know exactly what you're doing. You're not wasting their time. What's this guy going to do? This guy's going to do a show. Look, he's getting all this really cool stuff out, and he's going to do this. It's kind of funny
it's good to give the audience insight into what you're doing structurally. You know, I'm doing this because it attracts this. You know, I'm doing this because for this reason.
Yeah, because they're not idiots.
No.
The audience actually, they show an interest because they're interested. Oh, they want to see a bit of something interesting, you know, cool, funny, musical, whatever. It doesn't really matter what it is. But
I find that like it's if you're truthful with them, they will do what you ask much easier. Like if you say, "Can you guys move forward? That's a fire lane. I can't block it." Like it's a lie. if you say, "Can you guys move forward? I want to attract a bigger crowd." You're being truthful. They're gonna be
Oh
more
yeah,
apt.
yeah. I mean, like,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Can you move in a little bit? It makes me look better. That's a very honest thing to say
Yeah,
to them.
exactly. I'm not allowed to have people stand over there like it's just a see-through kind of
Well,
lie.
actually, having confidence in your own performance, whatever it might be, it might just be a trick, a little trick, but having confidence in that means that you can actually say, "I'm going to show you something really good in a second." And sometimes there's those people, like there's people that stop, and it's like you actually got to sort of like fill. If they move in, then you've got a full circle. It's like, yeah, it's great. If you just fill that gap there, and they're still making their mind up. And I love saying to them, look, just move forward. I don't. If you're going to stand there anyway, can you just move forward a bit? Because I don't care whether you watch me or not. And you can carry on talking, but make it look like you're watching me.
Can I use your bodies to look like your
Yeah.
audience?
And then they're engaged instantly, and they usually they giggle, and then they watch the rest of the show, and it's quite nice, you know.
Funny, because a couple of weeks ago I put up a video about getting rid of people you don't want, about culling.
Yeah, I love culling.
Yeah,
That French group of French kids. There's about 35 of them on
yeah,
one side of the audience, and you know that they're going to leave exactly as you talk about money.
yeah. But yeah, you had said something about sometimes you can hold on to those groups and they can be useful, you know. But you have to make that conclusion early. You have to be like, is this group going to be useful? Because sometimes, like at Faneuil Hall, there's a lot of school groups, around the end of school year, and every now and then I'll be like, you know what, these kids look all right. They're not disruptive or anything. I'll use them to get a crowd. I'll be like, hey guys, come and stand over here, and I need you to make some noise for me, And they're happy to make noise. They love making noise. And if they have to leave, whatever, they just left a little
Yeah,
spot on the side of the show.
exactly. That's because you've controlled the situation and put them where you want them as well. That's really important.
You
We are
can't
in
front
charge of
row.
our space. Yeah, and yeah, and I actually am a bit compassionate as well. Sometimes, like I've gone up to their leader. Like that's really important. If in Covent Garden, I used to do this a lot because you get a lot of school groups, a whole busload, and it is like 35, 40 kids. And again, they stand right in front. So I've just said to them, something you would never say. Go up to them personally and say, "This is a 45-minute show. Can your group stay here for the whole show?" Usually they go, "We haven't got 45 minutes,"
Yeah,
and you walk.
yeah,
They just go, and then bye. If they actually turn around and say, "Yeah, we'll watch it," and that, I'll go, "Well, you've got to sit down then, and you come around the side here like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
like yeah, put them at the side over there."
Hmm.
And then if they do need to leave, if it has gone over the time, it doesn't matter because you've controlled it, and you can get a big goodbye, and they all give a big cheer as they leave, the whole group, and like you can all like, and it's really easy to fill in the gap really quickly with the rest of the audience. Okay, quickly, can you just move down there? Yeah, bang, done.
Yeah. I used to go up and talk to their chaperone or their teacher as well sometimes, and just be like, look, my show's not really age appropriate for these kids.
You liar.
I'm from Australia. I use a lot of funky language. And then, oh, really? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start in a minute. So I don't know.
I think being
Maybe.
honest is saying a 45-minute show. By the way, in a crowd build, don't ever say to anybody in your audience in the first few minutes that, "Hey, come over. It's a 45-minute show."
Yeah, yeah.
So why would that be wrong then, Al?
Oh, because it's just like people don't think they have that much time. They do. But if you just walked up to someone on the street and said, "Hey, can I talk to you for 45 minutes?" It's no. The answer is no. If you walked up to someone and said, "Can I ask you a question?" They might
Yeah.
say no, but they might say yes. And that's about what you get with street performing. You're asking a question. Do you want to watch my grand finale? You
I
know?
will I will actually say that I've had street performers. I've kind of put them off their guard a little bit here because I've gone up to them sometimes and say, "Hey, you do realise that we are con men, yeah? and a few women, but we're con artists, yeah, confidence tricksters. That's
Totally.
what we are. But we
Yeah.
do it in a nice way. It's for a fun thing. But
Hmm.
and then I've had them say, no, we're not. We actually make people laugh, and that's a nice way to get some money. And I go, no, 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 you don't. What you do is you gather a crowd, and you never say this is a 45-minute show. When people go to the movies or to a theatre or any other gig, they know exactly how long they're in it for. And
Yeah.
we are kind of playing this little game. You don't even mention at the beginning that you're going to ask for money at the end.
It's a manipulation.
And but the good thing is we do it in entertainment. We make people laugh, and
Yeah.
it becomes a fair deal.
They get
However,
something out of it.
there's along the way you are sucking them in to your little world of deceit, and then you're throwing them out. That's a fact, and you cannot deny it. But it's a beautiful con.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's
We're
honest.
like we're nice hustlers.
Yeah, we're the nice hustlers. Yeah, very good line. I like that. We're the nice hustlers.
A t-shirt, nice hustler.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a crowd builder is just an avalanche of gunners. Gonna,
Avalanche of gunners.
an avalanche of gunners. Just gonna do this, gonna do this, gonna get ready, gonna put this on, gonna do this, gonna be a show, you know, gonna.
It's definitely a special skill that you learn by
Hmm.
repeating it.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is, I personally, okay, back to another point which I had made a note of earlier, which was when I first started in Covent Garden, I saw performers. I watched every type of performer
Mm.
over years, and really, in the first couple of years, I used to watch it and go, "What mistakes are they making?"
Well, yeah. What
Um,
crowd building mistakes do you see people make?
So you do
Other,
learn a lot
other than
by
the
watching
45 minutes,
others. Sorry?
other than saying 45 minutes, yeah.
Other than saying 45-minute show. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, the question is, if you're going to show them something, for example, I mentioned earlier that I would see you set up your stuff and you make jokes on people, but there's a point where you start doing your actual jokes and tricks with contortions and tennis
Mhm.
rackets and things. And I've seen you leave the crowd still back. So you're still building the mass of an audience. And then before you go into your sort of second half, yeah, sort of finale section, then you bring the crowd in.
Mhm.
Other times you might bring them in earlier for your jokes and
It's
contortions.
there's really 2 points where I bring them in, and it's always the same. And it depends on how many people are there, really. You know,
Yeah,
I do it either at this point or at this point, but
yeah.
I always do it at one of those 2 points.
Yeah, I think I've got a couple of points where that might happen. Now, with me, I've always had this thing where I start my show with a bow. And I always say, as soon as I come in and take that bow to start the show and get a big round of applause, bang, into my routines. And then the rest of the show is self-working from that point on.
Yeah.
But every single part of it is about crowd build,
Hmm.
whether that's me standing on top of my box to say something with a fire torch in my hand. It's really well thought out. And then I stand down off the box and give them to my volunteer to hold, or what things like this, where every little bit of that is thought out.
I
That
call
every
that I call that bunny hopping. So I'll get up on my suitcase, and in the middle of my talking or whatever, I'll just be talk a little louder, and so people who I see like a group walking by behind my audience, just so I get their attention, and they go, huh? And then I'll disappear from their view, right? So
another reason why it's important to look smart and look good, like
hmm.
shave, cut your hair,
Hmm.
wear something interesting. You know, whether that's like sometimes I've dressed up like a cartoon character almost of the Mighty Gareth. You know,
Hmm.
lovely
Yeah.
jacket,
No, you got to separate yourself from the audience. You can't just be a regular. You can't just wear, t-shirt and jeans. It's you got to be different. You got to look outstanding if you want to stand out.
The cool thing with that is as well is crowd building is again once you've got a crowd is standing this idea of standing on something. It doesn't matter how high, it only needs to be that high.
Yeah.
You must remember me when I used to wear platform shoes with big smiles on the front and
Hmm.
eyes. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were about like 4 inches high, and just that extra 4 inches I mean, I could see over the whole crowd. The funny hair on top as well.
Yeah.
Definitely get the back rows. And again, just another foot higher on my case. Perfect. You only need to be about 2 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And you're talking to the people at the back, entertain them, and everybody else is done, like,
Mhm.
and moving them in at the back as well. Really important, filling in the little gaps.
Yeah.
So that should happen seamlessly through the whole show.
Well, that's why I bunny hop. I get up, I say something loud, then I get back down. I get up, I say something loud, then I get back down. It just makes people have to come closer and squeeze in behind people and block people in.
Oh yeah, another technique of building a crowd is that at the point where I draw my audience in from this like massive like separate people in nice and tight, and actually see how many there are. If you do use a rope around your show, you can pull it in a little bit closer if need be, or if you've done it too far out, that happens occasionally. Just like make it a tight thing. And I always do my first routines down low. I notice you do that down low as well with
For
your
that reason. So people have to get up on their tippy toes to see what you're doing.
And the power of that. Imagine you're walking down the street and there's a crowd and you go over and go, oh my God, someone just got run over by a car.
Yeah.
That's why they're all there.
Yeah.
You're going to look and see what it is,
Yeah.
but no, it's just Al with his legs behind his head.
Yeah, that's it. The beginning of the show, low to the ground. The end of the show, elevate.
Yeah, that's really important. So some of the little points there is like, look good, stand out there, just be confident and let the whole street know. I've done that thing where I'm just a bit, I don't want to upset some shops around me, so occasionally like this, and like, should I be here? I don't know. I've had that one. But then once I've done it a few times in that same spot, I suddenly realized I can just go out there and stand on my case and go to the whole street up and down. I'm going to do a show. And they all turn around and you can get 20 people in one go from a busy street. Boom. Confident.
Yep. Absolutely. Looking good yourself, but also your props looking good. Your props can get you a crowd if they look good enough. They look cool.
Oh yeah, cool looking props that you get out of the case. Yeah, very important. Well, actually, there's another one that I learned in Darling Harbour on the slow build. Changed everything. I'd been street performing for many, many years. And in the first 7 years, I'd always used fire and I lit my torches at the beginning of the show. And for some bizarre reason, I would see performers in Covent Garden or somewhere just lighting fire and leaving it burning on the street like that and not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And just leaving it there and using the fire to attract people, which it does, but not engaging with it and doing anything. And I went, no, I'm going to gather a crowd without lighting my torches at the beginning of the show, because I'd done it for like 7 years. Many, many years later, I came to Darling Harbour and I hung out with you as well, actually, at that time. And I had a bit of a problem gathering a crowd. And then I remembered from my early years, I used to stand there with a fire torch in my hand. And the difference it made, standing in Darling Harbour and first light a fire torch, start talking to gather a crowd, move them into that one prop with fire that I had been avoiding. I didn't need it all those years. But I did it that time because, again, you have to use everything you can to attract people, especially in Australia.
Holding a fire torch. I mean, that's how JP gets a crowd.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And every single show I've done since then, I have lit a fire torch and held it in my hand while gathering a crowd. And then as soon as I got the crowd, I blow it out and put it on the ground.
Funny, isn't it?
Even the suspense, I've got two, so I redip one and light the other one, keep it going. This redipping thing while talking. And I don't even need to do jokes on people walking past. I can just say, I'm going to do a show. It's going to happen here. You're going to love it. And I think that's another thing. Advertise the thing. It's going to be exciting. Obviously, it does help if you've actually got something interesting and exciting to show them.
Well, like I remember early, like I don't know, like maybe in 2000 or something, I was at the pitch and I had my little bike, I had my Mohawk helmet, I had my weed whacker, I had my pole, like, and after the show, Bretto, do you remember Bretto?
Brett, I love Brett.
Yeah, Bretto goes, mate, you don't need a crowd build. Your props will get you a crowd. And I think it was a bit of a jab, but like it's true. Like my props help me get a crowd. Like good looking shit helps you get a crowd. It's interesting,
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I learned to do lots and lots of whip cracks around my body with the whip, and
Yeah, Shane does that awesome whip routine.
yeah, I learned,
crowd.
yeah, exactly. Early on in his show, he uses a double whip routine, and I even learned some double whips thanks to Shane. Actually, all my whips come from Shane. I've got about 12 different whips I bought off him over the years. Actually,
wow, he does this big announcement, and then he does all these awesome whip cracks all over the body. Like it's obvious that
jumping over it,
and talented, And at the end, he just lays them out, and he goes, "Come and stand up by the whips." Perfect.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, even before I knew Shane, again through knowing Damien Ryan, with it, he'd put his unicycle together, then pick up a whip and go bang, 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 bang. And I never wanted a huge, massive, long whip like that, because I like those little snappy whips like Shane uses.
Yeah.
But I went straight out and bought a whip after I saw Damien do that 30 years ago, nearly. Yeah. And there's been a whip at the beginning of my show, and I have actually learned to do it at the beginning. A few little cracks around my body, make it look cool, put the whip on the ground, and just leave it there. And then
yeah, mate, dude, there's so many little things.
Well, these basically, so that's another attention-getting thing that looks cool. Okay, so here's one of the things I meant to say this because this bothered me for years. There was a thing where people do something at the beginning, and they've got maybe a different style of show to you and me. I don't know, because we've got some similarities where we do something a bit. We look like we've just jumped out of a band.
Yeah.
People think we look cool, and then we do a few cool stunts, and it kind of fits into that. And Shane's a bit like that as well. It's like, yeah, give them what they want. They want to see a chainsaw juggle, let's see a chainsaw juggle. Even you with your whippersnipper weed whacker thing, whatever. Like, it's what the hell's he going to do with this machine? He's going to, It's kind of cool and interesting. And then you get up a pole. Shane gets a unicycle, and I usually jump on my box and swallow a sword and go with a chainsaw or whatever. It's all pretty cool stuff. Gnarly stuff. Yeah, it's a bit rad and that. I even stopped doing my 5-ball complicated.
Bit
rad. What year was I born in? Anyway, anyway, so I would see these people do this thing where in Covent Garden, where I know the only reason they're doing this trick that I'm going to say is to make the people clap, and they do a trick, make them clap, that will gather a crowd, and that's their pretense for their crowd build. And I would watch this. Some people do a trick and they say, okay, well, we want to make another. I'll do a trick. You react to it. Okay. And then they do a trick again, maybe a bit bigger, and they say, you react better. And they're telling them that they want them to clap. They're saying that it's a crowd build thing, but they're actually doing a trick as part of this. And then I can remember thinking, you don't actually need to do any tricks as part of that. You can literally say, I need some noise. Can you all just clap right now? Yeah. And that took about 2 seconds, and you can't fail.
You're not giving anything away.
When they do like the Diablo, okay, I'm going to do a really high throw and catch it, and you guys clap, and this will make some noise, make it sound good, and we'll gather a crowd and use it. I've seen a handful of street performers use the Diablo catch thing as a crowd build. And while it can work as a crowd build, it's like, you don't need to do that to get a round of applause. You can literally say, give us a round of applause. And it's more entertaining for them if you then go, never say no. Say, yeah, that was great. Now try it a bit louder.
Better.
Always positive. I nearly said, yeah, don't ever do that thing of going, no, that was rubbish. Never say that. Say
Yeah.
that was great, even if
Yeah.
only 3 people do it. That was great. Now the rest of you be great too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Keep positive through the
Mhm.
whole thing, and you don't need to give away tricks to gather a crowd, because you could actually do, to be honest, you could do a high throw of a Diablo and catch it on your string as the finale of your show and get £10 notes in your hat for that if you sell it right.
Yeah.
You know, you
Well,
don't need to
there's a
do that at the
guy
beginning of the show.
from Austria called El Diablero. That's his finale. High throw of the Diablo.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. Really strong show.
Yeah, my best ever show with the biggest audience and the biggest hat that I made for many, many years was not me juggling chainsaws. It was actually me blowing one big ball of fire, huge as hell, and only one, not two. Didn't do 2 balls of fire,
Yeah.
just one.
Yeah.
And the suspense, and yeah, nailed it. Really
Yeah.
good. So again, your
Cool.
finale trick doesn't have to be the most complicated thing you've ever learned. Like,
It's funny. I was just writing a little bit today, and I was reminded of a little crowd gathering tactic that I use sometimes. And it's if there's people around and I'm not ready to engage them yet, like I don't see anyone that I want to really talk to yet, I
yeah.
do a fake phone call. Right? No, this is what I do. I go, hello? And then I realize the mic is on. I pull the mic away, but so I'm still audible through the microphone. I'll be like, yeah, I'm just about to start a show. No, I was literally just about to start a show when you called. I'll call you back in like a few minutes, right? And then I'll hang up. And then I've let everyone know that I'm just about to start a show.
Beautiful.
No, I wasn't even talking to anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, it's like I've done that as well. I've actually pretend I'm calling my mum,
Yeah.
or pretending my mum's just called me. So, but anyway, but that only comes because my mum has actually called me during that kind of point in the show. I've had some fun ones over the air where my mum's randomly called me. I'm like, yeah, mum, I've got 500 people watching me right now, and hold the phone up and they all cheer. Always a nice little thing.
Yeah.
But,
I did that once in I was in some weird country like Slovenia or Bulgaria or something, and I did that thing in the show where someone's on the phone, and I grab their phone and I go, I'm gonna call my mum in Australia, right? I call and it's like 4 in the morning and my dad answers like yes, like, and I'm in the middle of my show. I'm like, ah. Like all of a sudden, all my confidence is gone. Oh, sorry.
I had that years ago, and I get my microphone off my lapel. I heard that I actually phoned my mum. Sorry, and I say to them, I say, "Can I call my mum? Yeah, it's her birthday today." And I go, "Hi, mum, happy birthday!" And I put the microphone up to it. She goes, Gareth, the bank's called you, and like, I'm like, Mum, I'm doing a show. I've got an audience. Okay. And they just tell me about my overdraft problem that I've got.
Oh, that's good. That's good for your hat line. You guys heard my mum. The bank called. I've got an overdraft.
Step in closer, please. I need this one.
Oh man, that's brilliant.
I've got down it. It's got to be entertaining. Create suspense.
What does it come down to? Like in one sentence, what does it come down to? Gathering a crowd.
In one sentence, but maybe a paragraph.
Sure.
We've talked about looking good. So important.
Image.
It doesn't matter. I've lived in vehicles. I'm living in one now, but in lockdown.
In one right now.
Outside my mum's house. Great. Stuck in Britain. Anyway, looking good and having neat props. There's one thing I've always done is look like a performer. Have neat props. Is your dog just coming?
Yeah, my dog just barks at anything.
Yeah, look good. How'd you do that?
Yeah, she agrees.
Look good. keep your props in order, and look smart. People want to see a tidy person, and that will already look attractive.
Smart.
Smile. Exactly. Oh, crikey! Yeah, you just pointed out that. I've seen performers go out like, oh, I'm putting up like I'm doing my job, putting my props out, and they look really serious.
Yeah.
And yet they're going to do the most really amazing job that you could find. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really interesting and exciting job. Where you, in fact, if you're a young performer, you've seen some old miserable set in their ways performer who's not smiling, go and just slap him around the face and say the mighty Gareth said smile. I don't know.
For me, it's not what you do that gets you a crowd. It's what you're gonna do, your intentions. Because
Yeah,
you see someone juggling 7 balls trying to get a crowd, it ain't gonna work. You say, hey, I'm gonna juggle 7 balls, you might get a crowd.
Yeah, the actual suspense thing, that is like, and confidence that you are, if you're going to do a trick, you are going to pull it off. If it does sound dangerous, it's going to look dangerous, it's going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Don't oversell something, don't let them down ever. If you're doing a really minimal trick, tell them it's the most minimal trick they're ever going to see.
I think it's important to over deliver. Like whatever you told them you're going to do, you do more than
You
that.
deliver more. Yeah, definitely.
Deliver more.
I've always started my shows from day one, my first ever show till this day. I sit down on my case, and I've done this in front of huge crowds, is to do my little silk scarf routine.
Yeah.
And
focus down.
I've seen people do it really shit, and I know I do it really well.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it on video camera and pull it off, and perfectly. And the sitting down low for years. Yeah, I didn't always do that, but for many, many years now, I just sit down on my case, huge crowd, do that, and just builds that audience from behind and creates that suspense. And also while telling them that I'm about to blow their mind, because for a fact, like, that blows people's mind when you do a really nice close-up magic trick in front of a big crowd. It really does blow their mind. It just does. And then you can boom straight on with the next thing then, and you can stand up and then be big, and there will be people behind. If it's a busy enough street, that's going to build a really nice thing.
I like doing that right when I pull people up to my edge. Right when I pull people up to my edge, just get down low.
And I think this is important because people know you as a height performer. And there's one little thing that I heard over all the years, and I've experienced it myself, which is I don't do a height show. I don't have a tall unicycle or a pole like you and Shane, for example. But you guys do the biggest shows. And I look to you for my inspiration on crowd building and everything, and managed to pull off a finale where I actually, in my finale juggling routine, I sit on my volunteer on the ground, with my walk of death and that. So I'm actually low down. So the only way to achieve it for me is to try and get 5 rows of people sat down on the ground and to get the big crowd. But also, I learned one thing. I get up on my case, that little 2 feet of height in between each trick. So I'm poking my head above that crowd has a massive effect. I can't quite do as big a crowd as you and Shane with your tall unis and your poles, but I can do a pretty massive one just by standing on 2 feet off the ground.
Ah, you're one of the biggest ground shows out there.
Yay! And JP.
And JP, absolutely.
And he don't stand on nothing. But again, he's got a height show. When he does his finale of throwing that axe about 30 foot in the air.
It goes up high. Yeah.
Yeah, the crowd like he builds the suspense the whole way through. He's a master crowd builder. You know Dave Castle? Hot.
Yeah, Hot, sure.
He used to run around with these arrows that he'd cut out, like red arrows of cardboard.
Pointing at himself.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Like that, and then go and stand over there. And without saying anything, just make a noise and do that. It was so visual.
Yeah.
And then point them in the direction where he wants people to go. And it really worked.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. 2 big arrows pointing at yourself.
Yeah, it's great. It was beautiful. And I saw that in my early years, and I've never pointed arrows at myself. I'm just saying that, but that being seen, stand on something there. A guy called John Chappell from Covent Garden used to get in a sack and then if he couldn't escape, he gets set fire to or something in his sack. I can't remember the routine, but it's quite a simple routine. A lot of comedy, a lot of audience stuff. But it's crowd gathering. I remember in Edinburgh on the Mound where it used to be crazy loud. Yeah, I can remember him climbing up on one of these lamp poles with one of those air horns, the football air horns.
Oh yeah.
Ah! That's it. Everybody goes, boom, over. Yeah,
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah, that's awesome. There
I
was
remember Nick Nicholas doing a similar thing, climbing up a lamppost on that same pitch when it's crazy loud and just shouting with his loud voice, really concisely, I'm going to do it here. And that instant impact, when you're in a really busy place, instant crowd, really loud. And even when it's a quick crowd build, you've got to do it like that. You've got to go full force, to be really honest. Like,
I find it if there's a lot of noise around, don't use music. Only use your voice.
yeah.
Because your voice cuts through. Music adds more noise.
And the best trick, again, with if there's a big crowd of people already, move them way back than you want them at the beginning. Because it's way better then to move them in during the show than to move them out again if they get too crowded. By moving them back and back and back and back, you actually silence the place.
Yeah, you command big open space.
Yeah, if it was a really big crowd filling all this, they're all talking to each other, loads of noise. But when you really move them way back, you've just made a big space. And it's such a powerful thing to do. Command your space. And commanding the space, actually the empty space, is really important towards building a crowd. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Absolutely. It makes you, raises your status. If you can command a massive space, suddenly you look like high status. If you've got people 4 feet away from you, low status. 50 feet away from you, high status.
Yes. So I think we've covered a lot of things anyway.
Nice one, buddy. Hopefully people get some good nuggets of information out of us talking about crowd building. I can put this up on the page, and we can make comments. People can maybe comment with their own funny little tricks that they do to get a crowd. So maybe we'll learn some stuff.
Yeah, you're always learning.
Yeah.
I never stop learning on this thing. It's great. It's beautiful.
Totally. Nice one, buddy.
Like not doing a show in front of a window where it says half price today. Yeah. There's a photo of me online with that in the background, and I think Shep Huntley commented on it. He's going, "What, you discount price today on the street?" I was like, I didn't want that photo online.
All right, Mighty G. We'll talk to you soon, eh?
Yeah, party on now.
Cheers, brother.